What up, everybody? It's your boy K to Don.
It's your boy Wraithh.
And it's the Love First podcast. We're back and it's episode 41. I won't do the hand gestures because we messed up on that one last time. But it's going down. We want to talk business with you guys, give you guys some more keys to success as usual. The topic is trying different strategies. But we're going to talk to some incredible business people that we respect on our Love First podcast business panel, and ask them some questions that can help you in your life. We're going to talk about saving. We're going to talk about investments. We're going to talk about cryptocurrencies.
Credit.
We're going to talk about credit. What else we talk about?
Strategies.
Strategies on strategies. So joining us today, make sure you stay tuned.
East Coast, know I'm rockin' with y'all. West Coast, know I'm rockin' with y'all. North side, know I'm rockin' with y'all. South side, know I'm rockin' with y'all. I'm still riding with my day, cause I'm rockin' with y'all. Whole county, throw your hands up.
Hello, everybody. We are back with the Love First podcast business panel. We have Mr.glenn, partner at IBM, the leader of insurance data in North America.
And we have Derrick, who is the CEO of Ground Up Credit Repair and Services.
Yes, man. It's a pleasure having you guys on today. How y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
Doing well as usual.
Yes, man. We appreciate you guys joining us in on the podcast. And you guys are people that we really respect on a business tip. That's the reason that we reached out to you guys and had to get you guys on the podcast. And Derrick, you're returning again. We've had you before. And Glenn, we're just excited to get you on here, man. It's been a long time coming. We're excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to be part of it.
Yes. Well, let's get into it. So there is a big debate that's going on right now, politically, about unemployment, right? About the government kind of extending unemployment with the boost. Now, with the pandemic seeming to be wrapping down, and we'll start with Glenn. My question is, how do you feel about the boost? Do you feel like it's slowing down the economy, or do we feel like it's going to force maybe companies to pay better since minimum wage hasn't been addressed to go up? Do you feel like it's actually going to help the companies be able to pay the workers better because that's what's going on and they want to be open, or is it slowing down the economy?
Sure. So I don't think it's really slowing down the economy because, for one, the virus is not over. And so people are acting as though it is just because we've had some vaccinations. So the vaccinations just lower the percentage of a chance of catching the virus. You can still get it once you get the virus, which we've seen many cases of. And the biggest thing about the virus is it might prevent you from dying if you get it. So that's the positive. Now, secondarily, I think the government increasing unemployment benefits, yeah, it may have some negative effect on people's decisions to go back to work, but we are experiencing a once-in-a-lifetime event with this virus, or at least so far once in a lifetime. I'm sure actually it's going to come many more times in our lifetime. As old as I am, it's still going to hit me for many years to come. So I think people's decision not to go back to work based on they're either being concerned about the virus is something companies have to figure out. How do they make their employees safer? And secondly, if in fact they are getting enough from benefits to kind of make that decision of, oh, well, I'll just stay home and collect the money, then that can be problematic. And so, but I don't know if there are many people really in that boat, because unemployment benefits are not that much money. So they're not going to cause somebody to decide, oh, I don't want to feed my family. I don't want to live in a house. I don't want to do this and that to take care of ourselves. That's just helps in a bit, but I don't think it's going to slow it down. So yeah, I think wages will go up as a result of the people not going back to work. But that's something that needs to happen anyway, because people keep forgetting that true capitalism is a small few that are successful and benefit, and the masses that don't. And they fight, they get them against each other by some means of discriminating, whether it's by race, by religion, by sections of the country, by whatever it might be. For capitalists, it is ideal to keep the population divided and keep them so that you can get one group working at a lower price than you can get another group. And so they're all about keeping wages down so that they can have more houses, more yachts, more whatever it can be, more money. And so I don't think that this is a bad situation, as as we're in this virus with unemployment benefits being extended, because in part it's the government's role to look out for the people. And so if the people are feeling unsure about the virus, then you have to look out for them. But at the same time, only 50% of the adults in the country got vaccinated. So there's almost no excuse for that. So, it is a mixed bag. And so I can understand many different opinions on it. So I'll take a break from talking there, let others speak on it.
Yeah, definitely. I must say, I do agree with that thought process. We've been explaining that. But I also want to get your opinion on that too as well, Derrick.
I'd feel it'll definitely put a little bit of pressure on them to, if not raise the wages, at least give more employee benefits and incentives to a certain extent. Because like Glenn said, unemployment may not be, you're not getting rich, you're not getting thousands upon thousands of dollars, but you're getting pretty much free money to sit home, spend time with your family, or if you don't have any family, just relax. So it's like you have to give them something to make them want to get out of bed. Because if you're getting a free $800-900 a week and you don't have to leave your home, you're not spending money on gas, you're not spending money on tolls or whatever you have to spend money on to commute, you're calling me back to work to make the same money or maybe a few dollars less, a few dollars more. It's like, what am I going back for? So I feel as if it's going to put some type of pressure on them to do that. But at the same time, I wouldn't say it's not slowing down anything. I do love the fact that the pandemic is causing a lot of people to start opening businesses. That's the main thing I've been looking at. The past year, I've seen so many people go from a 9-to-5 worker to a business owner just because not only with using the money that they got from unemployment, but just realizing that we can't just depend on one source of income, because any given time, like Glenn said, another pandemic could happen, and the next thing you know, if you're not a quote unquote essential worker, you're back home again. So that's what I like about it the most.
Yeah, definitely.
People getting bored with their money. They gotta do something with it.
Something.
Oh, that's money they make it off unemployment. Okay, you talked about how unemployment is having negative effects on people. Can you discuss some of those negative effects? Can you further elaborate on that?
Yeah, directed to me, right?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, well, so the negative effects are going to be, of course, for companies that are trying to restart their business. So when I look at the news every day, I'm here in Charlotte, North Carolina, but it's the same news across the country that companies, particularly fast food type establishments, can't hire enough people to open up. So many of them are forced to close their business at times that they normally wouldn't close. So they're either closing early or closing on a certain day because they don't want to overwork the people that they do get in there to actually do the work. So the negative is that business is not flourishing as much as it could possibly flourish. And so in the long run, that could hurt a lot of businesses and force them to go out of business, or just force them to not make nearly the type of money that they were accustomed to. So it may cause some people to change industries or change what they're doing for work. But, it does have its negative impacts on the economy in terms of slowing it down.
So what are your thoughts on what kind of... well, whoever wants to take this question first. Inflation, right? Everyone is saying that there's potential inflation, and they're kind of putting the buck on, I guess, the Biden administration with that. Do you believe that there is inflation? Do you believe if there is inflation, do you believe his administration is the cause? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's pretty much inevitable. Pandemic or not, inflation happens all the time, but it's like if you look at it, you think about how much money the U.S. is losing since last year, March, when this happens. You can't look at that and say, oh, there's not going to be no type of inflation. I've already noticed Uber prices going up about $10-20 more than they used to be just to go 10 or 15 minutes. So you have to expect inflation on a global scale. So you can't really put it on the Biden administration. No matter who was in office, I feel like inflation was gonna happen because they're gonna try to find some ways to make up money in whatever areas that they can make. So it's bound to happen. Where it's gonna happen or how much it's gonna happen by, we just have to wait and see. But either way, we just gotta prepare for it.
Yeah.
Glenn, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think inflation is going to happen just because when you look around the world, so here in the United States, we are benefiting the most from the vaccines. So around the rest of the world, it's not the same. So they're not able to produce the normal goods that they are used to, and they're not able to consume some of the normal goods. So what's going to happen is these companies here are trying to make up that extra lost income by charging us more here in the States, because we're in a better situation. And so we're able to pay where some countries aren't. And so we don't have the movement of goods. So, if China or Brazil or wherever it was able to produce some other goods that were competitive to US goods, then there would be more goods on the market. So that would put downward pressure on prices. But since there are not as many goods available, that's going to keep an upward pressure as people still demand more gas, still demand more housing. Still demand, even unique products that are just going to cause inflation. So I think we're going to start to deal with inflation a little bit until the rest of the world is better vaccinated. But that's kind of the price you pay. And like Derrick said, it's inevitable. I mean, prices are going to continue to rise no matter what. And sometimes it just changes what rises, so that some things become more expensive and some things will lessen as the demand for them lessens. For example, housing prices in big cities. A lot of people have moved to other smaller cities or mid-sized cities to get away so that they have a little more space. Well, that's put a lot of upward pressure on prices in those cities and lower pressure on the San Franciscos and the New Yorks and the LAs, because you have people running out of LA to Texas, where there's no state income tax, land prices are lower. You can get a lot more for your money. And so, so I think the increase in prices will just be kind of regional for a while, and then we'll start to see some steep increases.
Definitely. Okay, so let's kind of talk about investments, right? Well, how do you guys feel about new technology as far as investing, like such as Robinhood apps and things of those platforms of those type of nature, right? So now the fact that more people can maybe invest into it and be able to make money back, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Will it have a good effect on the stock market or negative?
I feel like I can talk about this one a bit. So, so I think it has moved to a situation of, it's almost like legalized gambling. So you can bet where, particularly when it comes to technology and technology platforms, because to be quite honest, technology changes all the time rapidly. So you could be hot 1 minute and the next minute you're obsolete. And so it's kind of like, if you're going to invest in them, you get in and get out. So you can ride it up for a bit, then get out, because, next, who knows, it'll be worth nothing. Now if you're going to invest in your solid companies like your Exxons and your Apples and your GM and things like that, that's a different story. But on these fly by night type operations, I'm more skeptical of those personally. But because this Robinhood thing, it was popular for a minute, but that's going to die off. So things like that, or if you're willing to bet some money, get it in and get it out. But otherwise, I would say if you're looking to invest, do the simple things, go to the big major companies, do the long-term approach, max out your 401k, making sure that you get as much money as you can get from your company. So if they're going to match it, make sure you get that free money. And think about your kids. If you've got kids, think about college for them. So start putting money away in appropriate funds to do it. And and even just putting money into mutual funds, you can make a lot more money on that and invest fewer dollars to do it. So, I'm a lot more conservative when it comes to that investing. Real estate's still a good investment. I think you can benefit right now from the short-term flip and everything, just because housing prices have been increasing in a good part of the country. But you need to have more of a long-term perspective on it in terms of how it's going to grow. But, those are my opinions of it.
So that's the reason why you feel like the Robinhood app will die off, because you don't see no longevity
I think it, and I hate to call them out by name because to be honest,
But
I
those
don't
types
know.
of platforms,
I know them only as a quick platform for what has occurred, and so I don't think there's any real longevity in that because they're getting a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, investing in the money, just trying to make a ride up, and so they don't understand what they're investing in, and they're not doing it for the right reasons, and so there's not going to be any longevity in that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes. Okay. So next question we'll actually direct this towards Mr. Derrick. How do you feel about cryptocurrency? All right. Well, what are your thoughts on cryptocurrency and investing in cryptocurrency?
I think I've just started doing some research on it because I didn't like somebody was telling me like there's so many different types of cryptocurrency. I didn't even know they had so many out there. So I just say do your research. Like to piggyback off what Glenn said about the prior question, some of these stuff die off, but I do feel like it's a good way to get your foot in the door investment wise. So definitely do your research. I'm not too hip to cryptocurrency yet, but I know a lot of people that are into it and they're really putting it all into it and they're making money. But it's not, like I said, it's kind of sort of like gambling, but I like the fact that it's at least getting people to want to get into investing, no matter what you're investing in, whether it be real estate or if you want to go the simple route and do mutual funds, stocks, IRAs, all that stuff. At least it's making them have that conversation and it's sparking that thought in their brain. So I think that's great. So I would definitely say just whatever, if you're doing cryptocurrency, if you're doing investing on Robinhood, Stash, all of those stuff, just do your research and don't just put all your eggs in that basket. No matter how, even if you got a lot of eggs to put in the basket, spread them around, but don't put them there and don't keep them there. Do your research, and you can't go wrong with just doing a simple old mutual fund and just letting your money grow over time, like everybody else did in the past. You can't go wrong with that.
Important words. Do your research.
Always do your research, because I see a lot of people like they're like when I don't know if it's Dogecoin, Dogecoin, however it's pronounced, but when it boomed a couple weeks ago, everybody was going crazy. Then like a week and a half ago, like it dipped and everybody was going crazy again, and it's like that's why you gotta do your research. That's why, like Glenn said, it's like legal gambling. Like it's up and down. So if you're gonna put your money into it, keep it there. If you want to take it out, you just got to do your research and just try to figure out what best works for you with anything that you're investing in. Because
I can't tell you how many tweets I've seen on Twitter. People were so sad that they lost money.
That's all I see. When it blew up, everybody was on it. I saw Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's all I saw down my timeline was people talking about it. And I like the fact that people were so excited. Like some people made some good money off of it. So I'm like, that's good. At least people are researching and putting their money into something that can possibly get them money in the long run. So now, like I say, just do your research and figure out what best works for you, whether you want to gamble on Robinhood or if you want to go the traditional route, if you want to do real estate, just do your research and spread your eggs around. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
I'm probably like famous for as soon as it makes profit,
I'm
taking the profit.
Not letting it sit.
I would love to know your thoughts as well on cryptocurrency. Is it the future? Is it too flaky? What's up?
Yeah, so I've been wrestling with this for years, and I'll let you know, I have doctoral training in economics, so I'm pretty well equipped to understand these things. And so tell me, what is the point of cryptocurrency? So cryptocurrency is initially thought up as a means to not have paper money, not have silver, gold, and platinum, and so forth. Well, it takes a lot of energy to develop cryptocurrency. So first of all, there are negative environmental impacts of developing cryptocurrency. And so if cryptocurrency is just a means of transferring, using paper money and tying it to gold and so forth, then it's supposed to be a medium of currency, so a medium of transactions. And so when you have a cryptocurrency worth $60,000, what medium of transaction is that? We need something that's still worth $1. They talk about you can take bits and pieces of a cryptocurrency and give it. But even in today's market, when someone says I've got cryptocurrency and they want to buy something, well, the person that is willing to take it is still converting it to dollars. So what was the point of it in the first place? So I just don't see cryptocurrency as it is. JP Morgan Chase has been like, we're not doing cryptocurrencies, and a lot of banks kind of barely, deal with it, because ultimately it's still government controlled money, or it should be. This is a way to kind of bypass it. And are you going to trust something that's not produced by the government to say, oh, we're using this as money now, and then you're going to accept it? I personally not. I'm going to still deal with dollars and cents and gold and all those things until they get a more uniform, established cryptocurrency type procedure. And so right now, I think they're all just fly by night. Everybody's trying to get rich. And there have been people that have been lucky to get rich on it because it's just something that they're investing in and they're watching it ride up high. And you get that mob mentality of buying it. And if you're lucky, you can sell at the top while the others are still trying to buy it and get out. And then they get stuck with all the losses. So I'm just not a big fan of it. And maybe I just don't understand it well enough, but I doubt that.
Yeah. No, I think I definitely agree with you guys, because it does seem like, well, most of the people invested in cryptocurrency, it just seems like they're in it to kind of get rich, and most of those people usually end up losing money. Like I said, I like to play things super safe. So when I do see like, all right, this has been increasing by maybe like 200% in the past 2 weeks. All right, let me just put some I'm comfortable in there, and so it's like in my profit, I'm out. I won't even have a chance to get rich off it because I'm right out.
Right. Hey, I feel you. I feel you all the way. I would be in the same boat. Let me get out.
People like they'll post like, it'll be like like some type of celebrity. This celebrity put this amount of money into cryptocurrency back in 2014. Now it's worth something million. I'm like, well, that's great. It worked out for them, but they had that 500,000 sitting around to invest in. Now it turned into 2.2. That is beautiful. But I don't know what my $5.5 is going to get me. But so it's like it's great, but like what I said and how Wraithh repeated it, do your research, and like Glenn said, it's legalized gambling. Just do your research and read it. Do as much research as you possibly can.
Because like what Glenn talked about with the Robinhood app, a lot of people have a lack of knowledge when they get on that app and they don't understand what they're doing with their money. So it's important to do your research and understand, like, okay, I'm gonna put in this much amount of money and see what happens. And I don't think people don't understand those things when they're trying to invest.
Yeah, stop it. Everyone, that's what I want to say, like, to people that use the app, because I do partake in the app too as well sometimes, but people have to stop trying to skip steps, right? A lot of people, you end up losing when you're like, I just want to get rich. Well, get an understanding. I think it is good, and that's why I kind of agree with Derrick, was like, and I hope you get an understanding, but for everyone that's trying to, hey, I'm going to get rich, this is what I'm hearing, that's why they say, buy the rumor, sell the news, So it's just important that you get an understanding. Stop trying to skip levels, because 9 out of 10 times you're gonna lose money before you get rich if your mentality is like just get rich. Getting understanding,
So
and I'm sorry, it also is an opportunity cost, because that money you waste on trying to invest in getting rich, that's money you could be paying for your kids to go to college, or paying for new shoes for them, or paying the rent, paying for food, basic things. So, people have to prioritize and like you say, be conservative and take care of the things that are important first. Then if you have some extra money left over, you might be willing to take a chance with it. But
that's why it's important to save. Like we on this podcast, we talked about the importance of saving money. And I've even gone on a limb and said, they should be teaching this in school.
Yes.
Like the episode that we had Derrick, when we were in Derrick, we talked about how schools need to start investing time into these kids and started, teaching them how to, build credit and how to save money. So, how do you like? This is a question for both of you guys. Like, how important is saving money? Because a lot of people, especially nowadays with this generation, a lot of people have like this instant gratification mindset, and they want things right now. So they just, whatever money I have in the bank, I'm gonna use that and I'm gonna buy this instead of looking, down the road and understanding like, I didn't really need to buy this.
Right.
So like, I guess we could start with Glenn, like the importance of, saving
and strategies for it.
And strategy, yeah.
Yeah, well, saving is, first and foremost, cover all the basics because you want to be able to save when, one, you're covering the basics so that your credit score is also building. And then you can put a little money to the side because if your credit rating is not building, then you're paying too much money for everything already anyway. So the difference that you're paying that's too much is also money you could be putting away to save. So I'm saying saving is the number one priority. Your company, wherever they're going to help you save, you make sure you take advantage of it. If it means them contributing extra dollars to it, if it means you taking out your health care in a way that you can take it out pre-tax. So that's more money you get to save since you're not paying after tax. And so people need to think about those things in terms of, getting all, being able to party and all that is cool and whatever you want to do, but be able to take care of your family first and foremost. And if you don't have a family, take care of yourself and save and think about having a family, because at one point, one day you're going to have to do all those things and you would be much better prepared for it if you save and get ready for it and think about it. And so I'm going to say saving is the most important thing along with taking care of your credit, because if you're paying the bills and saving money, then everything's gold. You don't have to worry about trying to get rich or this and that. If you want to try to get rich, pay $1 on a lottery coin. Don't waste $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever it might be on some cryptocurrency or some other crazy bet that you heard about. Saving is the most. The difference was when I was younger, I didn't save that well. Just because I always figured this is the brokest day I'm ever going to be. Well, for me, that worked out fine because for most people it doesn't work out, but for me it worked out, and I was just lucky for that. But if I had to go back and do it, I would have saved a lot more money than I did. And so I would tell people all the time, save. I mean, chances are you're not going to die tomorrow. So that means you got to work another day and have the money to take care of it. And as I'm getting old, which I'm getting old, I'm thinking about retirement. So I'm putting pennies away all the time, making sure that when I'm too old to work or want to work, there is money there I can live off of. And so that's what you have to think about. It's not just living for today, it's living for tomorrow, because chances are you're not going to die. So you need that money.
Yeah. So what would you say are your best strategies for saving? Like, what are things you personally do, and what do you teach your kids as far as having the right mindset of how to save? Because a lot of people are like, I don't really make enough to save, but there's ways of saving,
So a simple one is I almost never have cash. It's so easy when you're out somewhere, you see something that costs $1 here or $5 here or $10, and if you got that green in your wallet, it's easy to pull it out. But if you have to pull out a credit card, then you might think about it a little more, and you might not. So I almost never have cash, and that's one way to cut down on expenses. Two, if I do have cash on me, I always take all the change and I just keep it. I don't spend it on anything. I just, like in my window right now, I probably got a couple dollars worth of quarters sitting there that I've just gotten back as change, and I just keep keeping it. So,
I used to have one of those. I used to have one of those. I got to get back on that.
I mean,
the job for the quarters, yo.
I gotta get one myself too.
I mean, those are just little things that you don't really think about, but they help. And so even saving money on a pre-tax basis, I got a healthcare account that takes the money out pre-tax. So when I have to spend on medication or spend on other things, I'm not spending that extra tax money on it. So that's an opportunity to save, and then take a little bit of it every month and just, pay yourself first, no matter how much small it is. It could be $25, it could be $50, $100, $1,000. Put it away in your savings account. Try not to touch it, and just put that amount away before you start paying everything else. So pay for yourself first and have those dollars put away. So when you start thinking about retirement or buying a house or buying a car, whatever it might be, you've learned to save for it. And so saving is a big event. I would tell everyone, and I should, since I do run the insurance aspect for IBM, I'm going to throw this in for my insurance clients. Get insurance. So make sure if something does happen to you, your family's covered. Now you have to watch your back every once in a while, because with my wife and kids, I'm like, hey, y'all will collect a couple $1 million if I'm around. So you have to watch your back a bit, but it is important to have that insurance too, especially when you have younger kids going into college. Now you can, once they get past that college age, you can probably get rid of you don't have as much of a need for the insurance. So, but you need to have it there in case something happens to you. You want to be on your deathbed knowing that your family is taken care of.
Important. Derrick, what do you think about the importance of saving money and having strategies for saving money?
It's definitely important. I do want to piggyback off the insurance part, because one thing I always hate is when somebody passes, and it's nothing I wouldn't say I hate it, but it hurts me when I have to see them post a GoFundMe.
Yeah,
because it really hurts me, because it's like that it's sad, because now you got to try and scramble to raise that money for funeral costs or hospital costs, and it hurts me. So definitely, everybody get insurance. It is not that expensive. If you're young, if you're in your 20s, you can get you a real good rate.
That's a very important point, because I'll be seeing a lot of those.
A lot. I saw a lot last year, because I have friends and just random people that I do follow on social media that lost friends or family members to COVID, and they have to post their GoFundMe. And like I said, it hurts, because it's like, it's sad that you got to resort to that to try to be able to cover those costs. So everybody get insurance. Like I said, it's not that expensive. Find you a good quote. If you're young, if you're in good health, get in now while you're young, lock in that good price. But I'll switch over. In regards to saving, I've been saving the same amount every week since I started working. I'm only 28, going on 29. I got my first job when I was 19. And when I went to the bank to set up my debit card, he asked me if I wanted to open a savings account. I said, yeah, sure. He was like, okay, we can transfer a certain amount there every week. I've been doing $25 a week since I got my first job, and it's not much, but that's still $1,200 a year. But I do $25 a week.
Exactly.
And then if I say, for example, if I get paid weekly, and we all, out of your 4 or 5 checks in a month, you're gonna have that one check that you don't have no bills to pay. Throw $200-$300 into your savings if you can.
Yes,
if you have
very important.
Throw it in there. And then when you get your income taxes, you got a few hundred to 1,000 left over after you pay off your bills, after you splurge a little. I don't see no problem with splurging with your income tax. It's your money. Splurge a little bit, live a little, but throw a little money in that savings too. And then I'll take it a step further in saving in regards to consumerism, because a lot of people don't like to use discounts. They don't like to use coupons. They don't like to use sales. They're there for a reason. Like I just bought a couch, and I had some reward points linked to my Chase credit card. It saved me $50. Yeah. It don't sound like much, but it only costs $20 to fill up my gas tank. That's 2 weeks of gas I just saved right there, with $10 left over to do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. So use those coupons, use those discounts, save some money. Like I said, there's so many different ways to save money out there. And I hate when people say I don't make enough to save. You don't have to make a lot of money to save. You can save $1 a day. That's still $365 saved somewhere. That $365 may not go too far, but in a month where you may be short, that $365 can cover your car insurance, your car note. It can cover it could cover something. Or it can
they keep saying that because they keep blowing their check.
Exactly. So it's not you don't have enough money. You don't have enough discipline to put the money aside to it, because people get the money for what they want. Like I tell people, like you say you don't make enough money, but you're spending $5 to $7 a day on a large Starbucks coffee. That's $35 a week right there. Add that up and see how much money you're spending a year on just coffee alone. Something that you can make at home, something that you really don't need. You don't need coffee. So there's so many different ways that even if you're not saving money, putting it in the bank, you can at least save on the money that you're spending. So at least you have more money at your disposal instead of just saying, oh, all right, I'll just spend this money on this. I get paid next week anyway. I hate when people say that. I get
Oh
paid.
my God.
Like just not, you can still live your life and still save and still penny pinch here and there so that you can not always have to live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. Let me jump in there right quick. So you mentioned taxes. So everybody's happy when they get that tax check back for $1,000 or whatever, but they really shouldn't be. So all that means is that you overpaid the government all year long, and now they're giving you the money back where you earn no interest on it. You didn't get to save it and put it on some other activities that you could raise money with. And so now they've given you money back, tax free. So for me, I'm just trying to every year try to break even or be close to breaking even for taxes. Whether I owe them $1,000 because if I owe them 5,000, I ain't gonna lie. Most of the time I owe them about 20,000, but that's 20,000 during the year that I was able to put to saving or put to some other investment, and now
you're prepared for it.
Interest on that,
right?
And so I didn't give it to the government to hold for me for a whole year with no interest.
Right.
So people got to get out of that mentality of wanting to get a tax return. You got to, so you have to figure it out. Most people have been working long enough to figure out what their deductions are or what their itemizations or whatever it is that you need to figure out how many deductions you can take so that it breaks even, or you might owe a little bit or something like that. Getting money back is not the deal.
Your research. That it goes back to doing your research.
Facts.
That's something that a lot of people may not really know about is how to, like you said, do the itemization, the deductions, and trying to figure that out so you can break even. So do your research. There's a lot of people out there that can help you with that, and you can try to figure out how to be smarter with your money in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah, well, and I'll give you a quick example, and so we can get all types of listeners on this, but I had a situation that I didn't really realize it until I sold my second home. Like I just had a vacation spot, a getaway home, and I sold it. And then all of a sudden, I owed the government like a ton of money. And what I didn't realize is by having the second home and getting that deduction, that was allowing me to have a second home and not have to pay the IRS. And so when I got rid of that second home, I was like, damn, I need to get another second home because not having that interest deduction costs me more money in the long run. So if you're in that spot that you've got a primary home and you can, work through all the taxes and the tax limitations and so forth, you can buy you a second home instead of giving the money to IRS. You can get that deduction for that second home and, live the best of both worlds. Because, the key is not to give Uncle Sam anything extra. They are not good at
you already take too much as it is.
Right. That's really a major key. Like you guys brought up like some amazing points. Like even what you just said, Glenn, kind of like changed my perspective. I kind of do. I think I kind of focus on just like breaking even, with the refunds. But now more so that the insight to do it on purpose, because like you said, you're not gaining interest on it. And you actually having that, you can actually turn that into something. So when the tax comes and you do got to pay this, but it also requires being disciplined, that you really invested, that you actually made money on it off of it. So maybe just some of the profit can actually go there to pay off the tax refund, So I really thought that was a great perspective. And also even what you were saying, Derrick, like the coffee and what you're spending there. And what I personally even try to do, especially if it's like a big company, like if I'm going to Starbucks or I'm going to whatever the case is, I like to actually have a stock in that. I need to feel like I'm owning something of this place that I'm spending money. Like if I like this, whatever I like, I need to have some type of ownership in.
Right.
I don't like to just feel like
I'm the
I'm giving
same
up
way.
my money. Like I'm not subscribing to Netflix without having ownership in Netflix. You know
I'm the same way.
So I think you guys brought up amazing points. Something I did kind of want to rewind to that we brought up. It's a common word, but I don't think most people actually know what it is, and that's 401k. I mean, it truly like changed my life. It's something I didn't take advantage of immediately, and after taking advantage of it and seeing how much money I made in a short period of time, I'm like, oh God, I should have been doing this from the beginning. And shout out to my dad because he's been pushing it on me. I'm sorry for ignoring you. Like, I'm on the bandwagon now. I've been preaching 401k to everyone. But if I want to let's start by you guys breaking down like exactly to the people like what 401k is, because I think everyone's heard the word, but they don't understand what it is and what it can truly do for you. You know?
Well,
break it down to me because I need more info on it.
I'll give it because I just recently used my 401k for something. So I'll give a quick example. Then I'll switch it over to Glenn because I know he's gonna have more information on it. But like for my 401k, I took a loan out of it because I was moving, I was relocated, and I'm not a fan of leasing or financing cars. For some reason I just don't like it. And I was like, this is gonna be my first car. I'm not leasing or financing my first car. So I called them up and I wanted to just take a withdrawal. They said I couldn't because it's not for like a hardship or anything. So she said, okay, I can do a loan. I said, okay. I took a loan out. I got the money in about 2-3 days, bought the car, and they take $100, I believe 100 or 100 and something a week from my paycheck every time I get paid. It goes right back into my loan. And then she was like, all the interest that I make off of those payments go right back into the 401k. So I said, wait, I'm gonna get the money in 3 days. I'm gonna put the money back into my 401k by working, get interest off of those payments, and then by me working, I'm still putting more money into my 401k. She said, yeah. I said, yeah, I'll take that. I was like, this is perfect. This is beautiful. So that's just one aspect of how it can work in your favor. So I think everybody, if your job has a 401k, enroll in it. They take it out of your check anyway. So it's not like you're giving the money away. So you don't even see it go missing anyway. Just take advantage of it. Try to match as much as you can match. So whatever your company matches, try to put that at least and maybe more so you can take advantage of that because that's money. That's a great way to save without having to force yourself to save. Because I know a lot of people don't have the discipline or think they don't have the discipline or think they don't have the money to save. So 401k is a great way to save without having to tell yourself every week, every time you get paid, oh, I got to put this money away because it's already going anyway. So, but like I said, I'll switch it over to Glenn now. I know he can give us more insight on it.
No. Actually, I think your example was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So, because why give somebody else the interest if you can do it yourself, get all the money back?
Right.
So, that was brilliant. So I'm for that all the way, what you just did.
Yeah.
But a 401k is just a tax structure that the government's created for people to be able to save. And so in most cases, you get that money taken out pre-tax through your employer. And in many events, most employers have some type of match, whether it's up to 1% or 5%, whatever the match is. So they're essentially giving you free money if you save. So if you save your 5%, they're going to say, well, we'll give you 5% too. So now you're putting away 10%, getting 10% of the money. And like you said, you're investing it, the 401k allows you to invest it into different things.
Yeah, that too. That's another aspect of it.
Yeah. So you get an opportunity, to meet your financial needs in terms of, do you need a short-term, long-term, wherever you want to put the money in there, and it allows you to save. So I'm all for 401ks and maxing out your 401k, even if that's your only way of saving, let them match, let them, even if you can only put 1% away, let them match that. And
you could always change it later down the line when your finances get better too.
Exactly. And so, people need to, when they take a job, don't just look at the paperwork and say, yeah, whatever. And I'm not into all of that and all that other stuff. Your 401k, jump on it, fill it out, get them to, so, because what happens is the money comes out pre-tax, so you're not going to even see it or miss it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you don't even have to force yourself to save. You know how you get the money after tax and you're like, well, I need to put this $100 in this account. And you find, well, I need some new shoes, or I need this, that, and other. Maybe I could pay some on rent or whatever. You don't have to make that decision because the money is taken out pre-tax, put away for you, allows you to save. And just like Derrick said, you can use it for other things, because the beauty is you can take a loan against your own money.
Yes.
and you pay yourself. And so that's fantastic, because I've done it in the past too, where take a loan against it, repay yourself. You know, nothing better than that.
That's beautiful.
Because you don't owe a bank, you don't owe anybody else, you're repaying yourself. And
it doesn't show up for your credit report either.
And
so they don't run your credit.
Exactly.
It's automatic, so it doesn't show up in your credit report. So if you got a lot of stuff, or if you don't have to worry about missing a payment, because they take it right out of my check, so I can never miss a payment.
Right.
And it's not on my credit report. So you don't gotta worry about that either. Just if you need it and you got the money, take it out. And like you said, you're repaying yourself and making interest off of it at the same time.
And so no matter who your employer is, find out about it and see what the opportunities are for 401k. And if they don't offer a program, and I don't remember the number of it again, but the government will still offer some ways for you to save money, you know, where you have independent contractors or whatever that are allowed to save money on a pre-tax basis or whatever. So you want to take advantage of that, because there's nothing more beautiful than pre-tax.
Yes, yes. Pre-tax. Oh man, you guys explained it beautifully. Like, I want the audience to know, like, is the 401k as good as it sounds? Yes. Yes, it is. Like, it only takes a few minutes to set up. And like they said, the major keyword is pre-tax. Like, look at this. You were never going to see this money. So instead of never seeing this money, you can actually put it towards something where you're saving that money that you would never seen. And now most likely the business that you work for will match it. So they're going to give you free money. They're like, since you're saving, we're going to match what you're saving. And they'll do the percentage. I encourage you to max out the percentage, because that's them matching what you're going to do. That's them giving you free money to what you're doing. You know, my dad has been telling me this for years. One day I was working for this company. I was walking through, one of my coworkers, he's like, yeah, I'm just taking a little loan on my 401k. You know, I just got $10,000, you know, we'll do it like that. I was like, what? I was like, that sounds like
Listen,
it's something right.
When I get my check every 2 weeks, the first thing I look on it is the 401k.
Me too.
That's like my favorite thing to see, where they done matched it and I got money building up in it. I'm like, oh yeah, I love that.
I look and I see, let's see. I'm like, let's see how much they put into my 401k this check.
Yeah,
look at the amount. I'm like, oh wow.
That in itself can put you in a good mood at looking at your paycheck.
Right.
So,
I was shocked, man. I looked at it during the pandemic, and the number, I was like, wow.
And then you can roll it over to another job as well, which is great.
Right.
Roll it over to another job, or even an IRA account if you're not working, whatever the case may be. But every time I look at it, more than being excited about the number, I keep thinking to myself, why didn't I do this earlier? Every time I look at it, I was like, I can only imagine if I did this with my first job, you know, like.
I started asking myself the same question.
Yeah.
For real. But that's because I didn't have knowledge of it. And I feel like that's important. And that's why I always go back to the school thing, how they need to start teaching these things to younger kids, so that when they're out of school and they're thrusted into reality, the real world, and how money works, they should have knowledge of these things.
Yep.
My thing is that if you can't put it into the curriculum, like I said when we first had our first interview a few months back, I feel like that's what the guidance counselor should be for.
Yeah.
Guide us on that stuff, guide us into the future on the stuff that we're going to need. Because I can't really remember what the guidance counselor, I think I see my guidance counselor twice in my 4 years in high school. So it's like, let the guidance counselor do that then. Teach us about all those finances, any type of thing that we're going to need as an actual adult. Teach us about how student loans work. Teach us about how credit cards work. All that stuff. Taxes.
You talked about like mental discipline. And I feel like a lot of people don't have mental discipline because they don't understand how
Right.
money works.
Mm-hmm.
They just know how to use it.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that's the
Me,
thing, like,
my discipline came from not having it. So when I finally started getting it, it was
Yeah,
like, let me find ways to keep some of it while still enjoy. Because I still go out every now and then. I still travel. I'm a huge sneakerhead. I buy sneakers all the time.
yeah,
But I still have. But I'm able to do them things because I have so much discipline that I know if I go spend, if I may spend more than I should on some sneakers, I know that okay. All right, I'm going to pay that credit card off in that next check or by the end of the month, or I'm going to pay half down because I just have that discipline. I play around with the numbers and I make sure that all my bases are covered before I even make the
yeah.
purchase. So the discipline is huge. You really
Hmm.
have to have that in you, but if you don't, it really takes a mental shift
Yeah.
to lock yourself down and say, okay, I got to be more smarter and wiser when it comes with my money, what I'm spending money on, where I'm spending it, how much I'm spending, and how much I'm saving, how much I'm investing. What am I paying for this? Am I paying too much for this? And it's a good thing with these bank apps. A lot of them break down all your spending for you. So utilize that to your advantage, especially these credit cards like Chase. I have Chase that breaks down your monthly spending for all your credit for on your credit card. So it shows you how much you're spending a month on food and drinks, how much you're spending on traveling, tickets, gas, bills, utilities, stuff like that. And you can see, oh, maybe I'm spending too much on gas. Maybe I'm spending too much on food. Did I go out a lot this month? And then you can try to prioritize those things and just come up with a budget or some type of game plan to cut your spending down at least a little bit.
yeah. And and I agree with the fact, what you guys were saying about it should be taught in the schools. It's something I will put pressure on the community leaders and politicians to do so. I encourage everyone to
Right.
do that. But until then, though, we live in a very unique time period with so much technology where you can learn this stuff on YouTube. Like, we
Hmm.
have to take the
Mm-hmm.
discipline instead of just knowing every show on Netflix, instead of watching every funny video on YouTube, instead of just being on TikTok doing dances. Let's take this time. You can do research and find out a lot about this. A lot of people, we don't do the 401ks and all these saving opportunities or take advantage of different tax codes and things of that nature because of lack of knowledge and understanding.
Hmm.
We need to
Mm-hmm.
be disciplined enough to research this. This is important. Like you said, there's a lot of people that probably didn't realize that there's free money out there to be taken advantage of.
Right.
There's so many things that you can write off and do this. Like, it's so many opportunities out there, and it just comes with having a little
I think
discipline to do the research.
I think another element to that too is the instant gratification factor,
Yes,
because a lot of people don't believe in longevity. They believe in getting stuff instantly, and that's why, no disrespect to like Robinhood, these apps that people
Mm-hmm.
invest in, but a lot of
we say
people,
those platforms in
yeah,
general. So
yeah,
I don't
platforms in
wanna-
general, yeah, platforms in general, but it's just like it's conditioning young people to want things instantly and
yeah,
not to put
A quick
time,
fix.
yeah, not to put time and effort into it so that it could pay off for
Mm-hmm.
you in the long run when you're, an adult and you have so many responsibilities, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and your brain is not scrambling all over the place. And like how you talked about with the GoFundMe, a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
things could be fixed if you would have had insurance, if you would have had these things. But, you have to acquire knowledge for that, and that takes time. And that's something that's something that you cannot have access to with an instant gratification mindset.
Right.
Right.
Like, yeah. So,
absolutely. You're correct on that.
mhm.
So we have a couple more questions for you guys. I know you guys have busy schedules. But let's kind of dive into and I know we've kind of touched upon it earlier before, Derek, but best ways, just some top tips of how to build and maintain your credit, right?
Yeah.
Because
Mm-hmm.
credit is something that can get you loans and into situations that maybe you don't have the exact financials for it, but now you can actually break down in increments where you can afford it, still save, and
Mm-hmm.
feed yourself at the same time. So, what are some great strategies to building and maintaining your credit?
One way is find out when your report date is or your statement date is on your credit card. It's different from your due date where your minimum payment is due. And a lot of people don't know that report date or statement date. That's when your bank sends your information to the bureaus to report. So if you say, for example, you owe $1,000 on your credit card, if you pay it on the due date, which is great, you got yourself a zero balance, you get the on-time payment. But then a lot of people are like, how come I paid this, but then when my credit report got updated, I don't see it reflected, because 9 times out of 10, your due date is always after the statement date or report date. But if you find out when that report date is, if you make that payment on time, you'll see that change on your credit report when it updates next, and then you'll see your score go up by however many points. Because there's no guaranteed set amount of points your score will jump up. But if you make those payments before your statement date or your report date, you'll always make sure that your most up-to-date credit information is being reported to the bureau. So that's one way. Never miss a payment. Never, ever miss a payment. One late payment could drop you anywhere from 50 to 70 points. Just that one late payment.
That's a lot of
that's
points.
the main part of your credit report right there.
Drop
That's
faster
a
than
big
go
one.
up.
I think a lot of people don't realize that having new credit added onto your credit report will always drop your score. So a lot of people they'll come to me like, why is my credit score dropping? But it's like, if you apply for a car or you apply for something and they ran your credit 2-3 times, that's 2-3 inquiries added. Inquiries drop your score about 5 to 7 points. A new account being added to your credit report can drop your score anywhere. It depends on the strength of your credit report. So try not to apply for too many things at one time. Even if you get approved, that new account being added will still drop your score. So to maintain your score, you don't want to be applying for too many things unless you absolutely need it. Another thing is to utilize autopay. Autopay is huge because you'll never miss a payment. And how I do it is that I have one credit card specifically for all my bills that I can pay on autopay. So I make that one and make sure I never miss those bills. And then all I have to do is just make sure I pay off that balance by the end of the month. So I'm building credit without ever having to swipe that card. That card stays in my wallet. I don't swipe it. I don't use it online, but it's always in use, because you have to keep your cards in use. If you're not using your cards and you're not paying it off, then how can I, as a bank or a lender, know that you're able to manage that card if you're not even using it? Just because you've had it for 10 years, if it's been there for 10 years and it's only been used once or twice a year, that's not telling me much. It just tells me that you have a credit card. So you have to utilize it at the right usage rate. Pay attention to your usage rate. And there's a lot of small tips. I would definitely say.
I do have a quick follow-up, right? Because you were saying the difference, and I thought that was major, the difference between the minimum due date and the statement report date, right? Now, on the statement report date, if you have multiple credit cards, right? Let's say you have 3. Now, when one of your credit card and that statement report date is coming up, do you have to make sure all 3 credit cards are paid off at that time, because it's going to be reported to the bureau because of that one card, because of that statement date? Or how does that work?
That's a good question, and I'm glad you brought it up, because you can request that they change your statement date to a specific date. So you can say you have 3 credit cards, you can find out, because most of the time their statement dates, report dates are going to be different. You can find out when they are and just link them up to all be today's the 27th. Say, hey, can you start next month reporting on the 27th, and do that for all your credit cards. So now you're paying them all on the same day. So that's easier for you to track your payments. So you don't have to make sure that you're not missing a payment. So you're tracking all your payments, and then you're getting credit for paying off all three of those credit cards, or at least however much money you're paying towards each of those credit cards. So that's a good question. But you don't have to make sure that they're all 3 paid off by that statement of report date. But if you want to see a instant jump in your credit score, that's one of the quickest ways, is to pay off a high balance and make sure that you get credit for it before they report to the bureaus, because if not, then you have to wait the following 30 days. So you can have your statement and your report date changed so that you can link them up to your other credit cards, so that you can get as much of a boost as you can. And then after that, the best way to maintain your your credit score is to just make sure you never miss a payment. Like I've had, my credit history is about 7 years long. I've never missed a payment in those 7 years. Even if I just got to put down that minimum 1 month, I'd be like, okay, this month I just got to pay the minimum. Next month I'll throw 100 or 150 on or whatever. Because I understand we're not always going to be able to pay off your card every month. There's nothing wrong with that. But make sure if you don't pay off that balance this month, try not to carry a balance for no longer than, I would say, 3 months, because you're going to get hit with those interest fees. Those interest fees go up every month, and then your minimum payment may be $20, but your interest fee will be $33. So now you're paying more than what your minimum payment is just on interest. So try not to carry a balance for more than 3 months, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So I just have one more follow-up question for you, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Glenn. So my last follow-up is, what is that sweet spot as far as like usage of credit on your card? Like if you had to say out of 100% of whatever the credit line is, what is that sweet spot that you want to show of usage?
So they usually say 30%. So if you have $1,000 max limit, about $300, that's what they say. But it also depends on how many credit cards you have too. Because if you're only using 30% on one card, that's great. But if you're using 70 on the other one, it can still kind of mess up with your score too. So you gotta play around with the numbers. But 30% is what they say is the sweet spot. And if you really want to, and if you're really disciplined, 10%. But that's if you're really disciplined with credit and you don't really use it that much. They say 10%. That's like a real good number. I don't really go over 30% often. I have pretty high limits on my cards, but I don't go over 30%. I rarely ever go over 50%. But if I do, that's only because I know I'm going to pay it off by the end of the month. So I don't mind going over the 50. But as long as, even if you're using your card over that usage rate, as long as you pay that off by the end of the month, it won't be bad. And as long as you're not going over the usage rate every month. So don't max. If you max out your card one time for the year, that's fine. If you max it out every month, that's not good. Because hardships happen. We're in a pandemic. You may have to max it out every now and then, but max it. If you got to max it out, pay it off or pay half of it off next month, pay the rest off the following month, but just don't make it a habit. Because once you make it a habit, that's when you start getting into trouble, and that's when you start digging yourself into a hole.
Yeah. Glenn, what are some strategies to build and maintain credit?
Derrick gave a lot of good examples.
Yeah.
So, I'll just take my situation. One of the things I do from a kind of a cybersecurity perspective around my account is that I don't link anything to my bank account. So if you're going to get a payment from me, it's going to be from a credit card. And so I know that you can always dispute things if there's something stolen or whatever. You can get it back from your bank, but you can even get it back with your credit card, and you don't have to deal with that issue of being out your actual money.
Right.
If it's some fraud or something taking place. So I use credit cards really now my example is I use credit cards all the time, but I pay it off all the time. Like I use it for those transactions, like to go to the grocery store, to eat at the restaurant, to do whatever, because I don't want anything, because I never have cash. And so I don't want anything hitting my bank account. So I would rather you hit my Visa or my MasterCard or my American Express or something, and then I'll pay it back. Like the payments will come out of my checking account to American Express or to Visa or whoever, but no other transactions, because, when you order something online, who knows if it's real or not,
Right.
Yeah, chances are, because even if it says Nike, somebody done set up a fake Nike website that looks like a Nike website, and your money gets ripped off out of your banking account, and then you're out the money until your bank, says it's fraud, give you your money back. So I use my credit cards in that regard, in the sense that I just kind of use it for transactions, but also knowing that it, like he said, it's the day that they report. So I'm always paying before my due date, because due dates, they're cool as long as you hit them, but stop it being reported. So, so the thing about it is, I might use all kind of crazy amounts of credit card, but if you're a company looking at my credit report, you'd never know it, because I always pay it off. And
balance is always low.
Yeah, so I was like, God, this guy, well, he uses, he has a credit card and they got a high limit, and looks like he might have had some transactions, but he doesn't know anything. So, So if you can do that, that's fine. But if you can't, like he said, 30%, pay it on time, never miss a payment, and don't have too many of them.
Yeah.
Don't have a ton of credit cards, don't have a ton of credit, period. So, you need, if you're going to have an auto loan, have your auto loan, have your rental mortgage, and a credit card or two. And there shouldn't be that much more else out there for you, unless you're buying, buying a second home or something like that, then that's fine. But you should limit the number of things that you take credit out on, because credit just means you owe somebody else money.
Oh yeah, I think you guys gave some great information, some great keys, some great jewels. I do have one final question for you guys, and that is, we'll start with Glenn on this one. What do you believe is the future of finances and technology, and is there a correlation with them both?
Oh, sure, absolutely, because there's an industry, it's called fintech, which are financial technical companies that are doing things that banks had historically done. And so now they're kind of merging that knowledge of technology to do the banking type things. So you'll see a lot of fintech companies, and you'll see a lot of banks buying fintech companies. And so, money will eventually disappear from the way that we know it, where it's a dollar bill or a quarter or whatever. It all become just digital, where transactions take place. No one ever has cash money. That's why the Fed has gotten out of they're out of the money business, in the sense that they don't collect it anymore. They have Bank of America that does that. They're like the last man standing, and so there'll be other regional banks and so forth that will do all their transaction with a Bank of America or a JPMC or someone like that, because the Fed is trying to get out of that. And banks would love to get out of the paper business. You see them all the time trying to encourage it and trying to develop new technologies internally to get their people to do transactions electronically. And so electronics are the way of the world. Like I said, I never had cash, not because I don't want the paper or anything, but that's just one of my ways of not spending too much. Because when you have cash on you, you've seen the dudes with the big wad of cash, and right? And if you don't have it on you, you're not going to spend it. So as a matter of fact, I got probably like $50 in cash on me right now that I've had on my pocket for like a month. Because when I was there, I was trying to think to myself, well, I don't want to spend it because I might need it for something else. So then I'll use a credit card. And so, but like if you happen to go in a gas station and you wanted to pay, if you were going to pay cash, you might all of a sudden pay cash for your gas. Then you see them bag of chips and that Coke and this and that and the other. And next thing you know, you're not spending more cash and more money than you might have just had you stayed at the pump and just paid with your electronic. You just paid for that gas, not that extra $5 or $10 you just spent in the gas.
Spent on a large Slurpee.
Right. Getting all those things. So, that's just one effort for me to save, reducing the amount of cash I use. But digital is the way of the world. So, I have to tell my mom that all the time, because she will deal with things well, why didn't they send me a check? Or why didn't they? Digital, it's all done digitally. And so, and even when I say, like, I'm trying to cover some stuff for her, I said, well, I'll pay it digitally. Or she, well, why didn't you just give me a check? Or why didn't, I'm like, because nobody does it. You don't do that. And so, but digital is the way of the world. And so and right now, I can tell you from a consulting perspective, consultancies are making tons of money because digital is the way of the world, and every company is having to transform themselves to be able to do more digital business, to be able to talk to their customers via Facebook or what other electronic community that's out there, and be able to advertise on those types of things and communicate, because that's the preference of the customers these days. The older folks, the baby boomers, tend to be more paper driven, but they're going away. So electronic is the way of the world, and it will never change.
Okay. So before I pass this on to Derrick, one last question, right? So what as a your partner at IBM, you're in a great financial business situation. What are the top three things that you invest in?
Oh, me again?
Yeah, that's for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right now I spend most of my money dealing with my kids.
That's a great
I
investment.
got three
Lifelong
kids
investment.
yet to go off to college. One's getting ready to go this fall.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
that's loads of cash. But outside of that, I will do, once again, like I said, 401k. I have some mutual funds on the side. So I have these, what do you call them, 429 plans or whatever it is for investing, 529 plans, I think they're called, where you put money away for students in college and you're allowed to use that money for multiple children, the same account. And so 529 plans if you got kids in school, 401ks if you're working and somebody can match it. And then, I will do mutual funds otherwise because I don't have time to sit and be a trader and figure out what's the hottest stock. And, by the time I hear what the hottest stock is, everybody is already invested in it. So they're already riding it up. And I'm going to be the fool to come in there and buy it when it's already too high and the bottom falls out. So I'll let some other professionals deal with that issue. And so I would say anybody, the average person, 401k, 529, and mutual funds.
Got it.
And simple savings account. If you can have the discipline to put that money in it and not just pull it out for, I need a new pair of tennis shoes, or I got a date to go on, or whatever it might be that's crazy out there that's not necessary. If you've got that discipline, then like Derrick said, savings plan, go for it.
Okay. Derrick, what are your thoughts on the future of finances and technology and the correlation of it?
They definitely go hand in hand. Technology is taking over the world, so my opinion is do your research and don't get left behind because it's taking over rapidly and it's becoming almost not the main source, but one of the best sources to acquire revenue. There's so many ways to make money online now without you even having to leave your house. And now you can become a millionaire with just off of being a middleman without having any inventory. You could the people that made Uber became millionaires and they don't own a car. So and technology makes it so that they can do stuff like that. So technology and finance go hand in hand. There's a lot of ways that you can put them together to make money, and you just got to find one that works for you. So just do your research. Don't be stubborn. I know a lot of people don't trust technology because of all the hackers and all that stuff out there. Understandable, but it's going to happen regardless. It's just like inflation. Technology taking over is inevitable. So you just got to get hip to it and just learn it and stay ahead of the curve, because once it fully takes over, it's going to take over. And before you know it, that's going to be the only way you could pay for anything. Like Glenn said, cash is going to become obsolete eventually. It's only a matter of time where you try to get somebody at 20, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Like now you can pay with your phone. You can pay with your watch. You don't even have to swipe your card. You could just tap it now and you're paying now. Before you know it, you're gonna be able to just pay with your finger, with just putting your finger on something. You'll be able to pay. It's so many different ways. So technology is advancing at an alarming rate. So we just gotta do everything we can to just try to keep up with it.
Okay. And Derrick, so your last question. As a CEO, young CEO of a credit repair company, what are the top three things that you invest in?
Right now, I just have my savings account. I do have I don't do Robinhood. There's another app called Stash. They're similar to Robinhood, but they more so let you invest in stocks and companies. So it's not like trading and stuff. So like how you said the whole thing about you investing in Starbucks. When I first got into Stash, I just, because I didn't know much about investing, I just invested in companies I knew, and I had the same mindset. I was like, I got a lot of Nikes, invest in Nike. I pay for Netflix, invest in Netflix. I travel a lot, invest in airlines. So I invest in that stuff. I do have my 401k as well. I do plan on investing in some mutual funds once I take care of some other things that I'm working on financially. I also want to invest in real estate. My plan is to spread my eggs around and invest a little bit in everything that I can invest in, just so I can have as diverse of investment portfolio, as they call it, as I can, because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. And I just like to have multiple sources and streams of income, because we can't depend on one. So, and I don't want to just put all my eggs into Robinhood or put all my eggs into Stash, or just put all my money into my savings. Saving is great, but it's going to take you longer to save 100,000 than it's going to take you to possibly invest a few thousand and make 100,000. But that's all depending on what your budget is. But that's just to say, you can't just save. You can't just work, and you can't just save. You do have to invest. You do have to take a risk. You do have to gamble. But for now, like I said, I just have my savings account, my 401k, and my Stash account, and then I do plan on branching out into other endeavors. And I always have my ears open. I'm always doing research on what I can invest in or put my money in, or what I can look into at a later time. So like I said, just do your research.
Yeah. I mean, it was truly an honor and a pleasure having you guys with us on the podcast. You guys dropped keys on keys on keys to success. And I'm telling you, man, if you're watching this podcast, there's no reason a few years from now you guys shouldn't have a nice savings account. You should be rich up this. You follow these steps right here. These are the keys that you're doing, you know?
I picked up some keys from Glenn myself.
For real. And then look, I actually have real life questions that I need for myself. So that's kind of the golden part about having a podcast. It's a free consultation for me guys.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, anything you want to add on?
No, I think they covered everything. I think this was very informative.
Very, very informative. We would love to have you guys back sometime. And thank you guys again, man. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll definitely be back. All you gotta do is let me know.
For sure.
What up, everyone? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit that notification bell for the latest podcasts, music videos, and comedy skits. We got a lot more content coming your way.
We here all day, baby.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the channel, baby.
Yeah. We gotta show love first like a podcast.